Hello, welcome to our post-summer, can we say post-summer? Our first post-summer Keep Optimizing expert panel Q&A webinar. And yes, 2 years in, I've still failed to find a pithier, shorter way of explaining what these webinars are. It's awesome to have you guys joining us live for this. If you are joining us live, please add your questions. They will magically come through to me, whether you're adding them on LinkedIn or YouTube, and I will do my best to get our panelists to answer them for you. Now, throughout August, we have been focusing the Keep Optimizing podcast not on a specific marketing method, which is what we normally do. Rather, we've taken those 5 episodes to get into kind of like a one-stop, get yourself up to speed shop kind of scenario, and the only things you need to care about scenario for the upcoming holiday season. Sounds good, doesn't it? So there's been 5 brilliant episodes, and I am joined by 4 of the excellent guests from those episodes. You don't have to have watched the episodes to be enjoying this live session and the Q's and the A's. You don't have to watch them to be asking a question. You can bring any question you've got about getting ready for this year's holiday season. But of course, please do go and watch those episodes later if you haven't. Or sorry, listen to those episodes later if you haven't already. The panelists I'm going to be joined by, unfortunately, Cunny can't make it because he's busy with his summit. He may appear later via the exciting medium that is StreamYard, but we're not expecting him to manage to make it today. So we're 1 down, but I've still got 4 excellent guests for you, and probably good news for all of us. We're now down to just 3 e-commerce podcast hosts on this panel, which means we do now stand some chance of actually managing to complete this in 45 minutes. So who have I got coming up for you? Well, we've got Birch Tanir from Pricing, the e-commerce pricing guy, and he's got a deal for you all to get 50% off your first 3 months with their system, which you can get hold of at keepopt.com/pricing. We've got Ian Hammersley, one of those e-commerce. Oh my gosh, Cunley's just appeared. We are up to a full quota of 4 e-commerce podcast hosts. Anything could happen. The chances of me getting to ask lots of questions have just shrunk even further. So Cunley is here. He's from the 2X e-commerce podcast and Octillion Capital Partners, and you can find out more about them at octillioncapitalpartners.com. We've got Ian Hammersley from the Hammersley Brothers podcast and also Smart e-Business, and you can find out more about what Ian's up to at hammersleybrothers.com. Completing our lineup of e-commerce podcasters, we've got Chase Clymer from the Honest e-commerce podcast and the agency Electric Eye, and he's got a free ebook to help you focus on the right KPIs to grow your online business that you can get at brandscalingframework.com. And we've got the Google Analytics maestro himself, Dan Coleman, joining us. And the best thing to do if you want to know what Dan's up to and you want to keep in touch with Dan is to follow him on LinkedIn, because quite frankly, you never know when you might need him. And due to Google Analytics 4, you probably need him right now. So that link's there. Now, if you're thinking, oh my God, I'm trying to scribble down all these links, Chloe, where are they? Well, if you're watching the replay, the links are somewhere close to you right now. If you are watching this live, then I will be, as our guests introduce themselves, I will be adding those links to the chats. They should be appearing near you soon if you're watching us live. And then there's me, Chloe Thomas, the host of the eCommerce MasterPlan and Keep Optimizing podcast. And I, in theory, get to ask the questions. And you can find everything I'm up to via keepoptimizing.com. Right, that's enough of me solo. I think it's time we got our guests up on screen. Let's just change the view over to... Oh, that one. That one's better. Gosh, hitting all the wrong buttons there. Hello, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Very well, thank you.
All here, all doing well. Excellent. Well, let's just get rid of that. Oh, hold on. Trying to get rid of that overlay so we can actually see Cunley's name there. Right. Well, if we could go around the table, as it were, and introduce yourselves, tell us a little bit about what you're up to, that would be excellent. Ian, we will start with you, and then we'll go round in a little circle.
Hey, Chloe. How you doing? Right, introduce myself. So I have... I always answer this question differently every time, which is really interesting. But I've been working in e-commerce for 20 years, living at the coalface of e-commerce for a long time, running our own e-commerce brands, working with hundreds of other e-commerce clients. We wrote a book 2018, and thanks to Chloe's help, became, through a bit of joint promotion, a #1 bestseller in Amazon for 5 minutes. So we screen grabbed it and put it on the front of our LinkedIn profile, obviously with a big circle around it. But so that's great. And then we also do our we have a podcast as well. And so my brother and I eat, sleep, breathe e-commerce for a long, long, long time. So yeah.
And I think you've been #1 for more than just 5 seconds, Ian, to be honest. Let's be honest.
Being very humble. It did appear there for a moment. I think, I don't care. 5 minutes is all I need.
You just need that screen grab.
That's it. That's all we need.
Okay, and Chase, how about you? Please introduce yourselves to the audience.
Absolutely. I'm Chase Clymer, a podcast host and now a book author. So I literally have it here. It's a little zine that we started. It was supposed to be an ebook, and then we just had too much fun with it, and that annoyed my team for the last month and a half. But I finally got the physical things. I'll be mailing them out at the end of the month if you want a physical copy. But the thing's going to be free online for everybody. So that's what we've been up to a lot lately. It's super fun. It's we try to dumb it down as much as possible. Like, these are the 3 KPIs that matter and how to improve them. So if you're an e-commerce business out there and you kind of got traction, you got product market fit, this is kind of the next step for you to learn like some initial growth strategies. So that's what we've been up to. Other than that, golf season's over and I'm not any better.
The story of many people's summers. Dan, you're next.
Hi, yeah, so Dan Coleman, e-commerce consultant, not an author, not a podcaster, not any sort of broadcaster at all. I lifelong e-commerce guy, actually built my first e-commerce site for the McLaren, the fan club of McLaren within the McLaren Formula One team in the same year that Google actually launched in the UK. So that's going back some 24 years, and I've been involved in selling everything from caps and t-shirts to jewelry to bedding to wallpaper, you name it. I've been involved in selling it online, even supercars for one kind of short period. That was fun. But yeah, I essentially I'm kind of the Google Analytics guy, but really an e-commerce troubleshooter, I suppose. Everything goes back to the data, but if you've got an e-commerce, a knotty e-commerce problem, and it sits in that space between technology, marketing, and kind of the platform, then I'm probably the guy that can help to solve that.
Excellent. And Birch, how about you?
Yeah, sure. Well, thanks a lot. So my name is Burç Taner. Not super easy to pronounce, but like you can achieve it in 3, 4, 5 tries anyway. So I'm the CEO and co-founder of this company called Pricing, which specializes in e-commerce pricing. And I sort of also nicknamed myself, thanks to also a few friends, as the e-commerce pricing guy on Twitter, LinkedIn, and on social circles. So I'm not an author as well. I'm not a podcast host, but I'm a quite frequent podcast guest, I must admit. So I've been a guest to Ian's podcast, to Kunles, and also Chloe's. Not yet for Chase one, but yeah, maybe one day. So I like referring to what Ian just said about eating, breathing, and sleeping e-commerce. So I literally do the same for e-commerce pricing in particular. So I literally, obviously with the help of my team, help e-commerce merchants of all sizes from all around the world to, kind of compete against e-commerce giants when it comes to pricing. So we literally try to actually save their lives. So not actually let them get lost in the jungle by helping them also to compete on price in a smart way, without really racing to the bottom, without really actually making loss, but helping them improve their profit margins. I believe pricing is an absolutely relevant subject for holiday season. So I'm really happy to be part of this panel with these gentlemen and obviously you, Chloe.
Excellent to have you. And I will attempt to pronounce your name better for the rest of this.
I think you did well.
But I might not manage it.
No problem. That's why I dropped this, little spot at the end of C in my international appearances, but it's actually like this C in French, alphabet, like garçon, etc. But anyways, Burk is fine. Sometimes B is even fine. No problem.
Thank you. Cunley, how about you? Could you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Thank you so much for having me on, Chloe, and a warm welcome to all fellow panelists and the audience at large. I'm Kunle Campbell. Some people may know me by 2x eCommerce. I've been a podcaster since 2014, November 2014. 402 episodes to date. A lot of hiatuses, lots. I've been on 3 months ones, sometimes 1 month one, but it's been consistent over the years. And very recently, just last year, I decided to join IODISU at Octillion Capital Partners. And what Octillion is, it's an e-commerce brand platform that's just founded to solve the unhealthy food issue in the world by acquiring clean food and clean beauty and skincare products and just make them more accessible. So that's what we do at Octillion. My former life and previous roles have been more around being like an outsourced e-commerce CMO for a number of mid-market e-commerce businesses, which predominantly have been in the United States. Crazy, it's a global world we live in. But and I've worked with the likes of Facebook before it was called Meta, or actually over that transition, Adobe, SAP, just on thought leadership engagements, but that's me. It's Kunle, and it's a warm pleasure to be here. No jokes.
Thank you all so much for giving great intros to the audience. I think they all know who we're dealing with here. So we have an amazing lineup of people. Now, we've already had a couple of comments come in, including a question. Nelson, we will get to your question, I promise you. If you're listening and you've got questions for our panel of experts, please do submit them now, because I can tell this is going to be one of those ones where I'm struggling to fit in the questions at the end. So get in early. We even had a question submitted in advance. Now, let me make sure I get this name right. From Dogancan Serbes, Head of Growth at crwizard. Thank you for your question. It's a great opening question, which is why we're going to start with it, which is, with the competition higher than ever before, what are the key differentiation points for digital campaigns to stay one step ahead? A key question for this coming season, because so much has kind of subtly changed in e-commerce. You can carry on doing the same things and you might be okay, but if you really want to succeed at the moment, there's been some big step changes, which is what we've been kind of educating you about this year. So I'm going to come and I'm going to ask each of my panelists to share just one idea. We got 5 of you guys. We're only going for another 35 minutes. We've got to keep these bite size. All right. That's Chloe's warning on timing.
What happens when someone steals my idea?
I don't know. Do we get to go, put up a steal sign or something? Maybe we should add that in for when there's so many of you on the thing. We go like, that was my idea. Yeah. So maybe have a backup one, guys. Maybe have a backup one. Just reiterate, add some detail. I don't know.
Yeah.
Chase, because you said that, I'm going to come to you first, so no one can steal your idea. So Chase, you're up first.
Okay, so the best ad in the world, you can have the best buyer, the best partners, whatever, agency, consultant, freelancer, whoever's running your advertising campaigns for you. And I'm assuming this is coming from more of like a Facebook-y, Google perspective, paid acquisition. Doesn't matter if you have the best ads in the world. If your experience is trash, it's going to be a bad conversion rate. You're not going to see the true ROI potential of that kind of strategy. So a lot of people don't spend the time and energy optimizing their website and making sure that they're putting their best foot forward there to actually truly convert as much traffic as they can once they have these awesome ads. So I'd say optimize your website.
You're on mute, Chloe, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. Number 1 podcaster error. Leave self on mute. Ian, we'll come to you next.
Okay. I mean, one thing's difficult, but I think ultimately the 2 questions that matter in e-commerce are simply how much does it cost to recruit a customer and how much that customer's worth to us over a lifetime. Like, that's e-commerce, okay? So, and there is right now, competition is high. There's an eroding margin. There's customer skepticism, and ultimately, there is sometimes a reluctance in small e-commerce brands to do an offer. And I know when I say doing an offer, you have to build an offer on top of trust and credibility, and and do all the, make sure that the customer has the confidence that you can actually deliver. But ultimately, you grow a brand by selling products, and so if you're a 0 to 5 million company and you're comparing yourself to a 50 million massive giant and thinking, well, they don't need to do an offer, so neither do I. You're not going to give people a reason to buy from you. So don't be scared of giving people a reason to act now. Because you will grow a brand by getting customers to buy, and that's how you spread it. So if customers don't buy, you can't grow. So it's about ROAS. It's about how much it costs to recruit a customer. How much they're worth over a lifetime. Return on ad spend. Obsess over it. That's your number one number.
Cool. I like it. So we are doing offers, but carefully. Dan, next, please.
Probably slightly a predictable one from me, but you want to be staying on top of the data and making sure that you can be as agile as possible with your campaign. So what happens a lot is you put a lot of work into kind of coming up with a campaign idea, a lot of work into launching, executing it. And then you kind of not really look that closely at it until a kind of a particular point in time. And if you're working with agencies, that might be your next monthly review or whatever that is. What you want to do is be much more agile, keeping on top of the data, and don't be scared to kill underperforming activity, or make sure that you're able to kind of tweak and refine it early to evolve it. It might be the second or third iteration that really kind of sticks for you. So you want to get there as quickly as possible.
Well, I love that, Dan, because you essentially said keep optimizing, everybody. Keep optimizing. Very on brand of you. Cunley, you're next.
Yeah, so we're exactly 80 days to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, which kind of officially kicks off the holiday, buying season. I've always said this. That period is essentially a retargeting campaign. It's a retargeting event. I beg your pardon, in the sense that you cannot sort of sow where you haven't ripped. So let me just turn this off, my WhatsApp. So you cannot sow what you haven't ripped. You cannot rip what you haven't sown, rather, in the sense that you should have been building your audience, all through the year, so that you provide, as Ian said, offers at this period. So if you haven't already, two things: build community internally, start to drum up the expectation to the holiday season, and start to use creators to build new community. And it could be a segment of your portfolio, of your catalog, of your product catalog, that you essentially sort of give the creators to run promotions, to drive attention to your brand, and to start to build that email list and pixel data that you need, and mobile or cell phone data that you need to really retarget, because you're communicating. Really, it's more communication. There will be campaigns from a performance marketing standpoint. It'll be expensive, but you need that leverage to communicate with them one-to-one. So if you were speaking to 50,000 people last Black Friday, this Black Friday should be a lot more, and now's the time for that sort of harvest, or Q4.
Yeah, so anyone who's thinking that you're just working on your plans for Black Friday now, you're not. You're laying the groundwork by getting those pixel tracking, by getting those email signups, by getting those SMS signups, by getting those first-time sales, so you can convert all of that into the next sale for your Black Friday event. Love that that tip. Butch, that was a terrible saying of your name. That's my worst yet. But you're up for your tip, please.
Yeah, I think I would add on top of what Dan just said. So I also absolutely believe in data agility, and also what you just said with keep optimizing. So I would just add, like, maybe I'm biased, but I would add keep optimizing your prices even during the holiday season, because what I typically encounter with merchants is that, they plan a lot for this event. So they actually sit down in their boardrooms, meeting rooms, whatever, and they actually come up with those, blanket discount amounts like 50% off across the whole assortment, I don't know, 30% off, etc. But these are all like decisions that are planned, made, before the holiday season. But the holiday season is also pretty like dynamic. So your competitors also, plan in another meeting room. They come up with other strategies, mostly like competing against yours. And their strategies might be also altering, changing throughout the holiday season, depending on their, I don't know, sales performance, depending on their appetite of aggressiveness, etc. So what we typically see is that if you actually come up with this decision before the holiday season, and it's then just rightfully mentioned, like if you just review the results after the holiday season, you might notice that you had a pleasant result in day one, maybe like hour one, I don't know, depending on your velocity, but suddenly you started to lose traction because your competitor reacted against that. So what I'm saying is that I think when it comes to discounting, when it comes to making offers with your price tags, you should be obviously planning ahead and actually making a decision how to launch your offers. But you should be also continuously monitoring your offers against your competitors throughout the holiday season, because they might, like I said, react against yours. They might change their minds, etc. So you shouldn't really end up with irrelevantly totally uninteresting offers in the market. Like worstly, like just on which you are actually wasting your ad budget, retargeting budget, whatever. So yeah, like I would just say, merchants should keep optimizing their prices throughout the holiday season.
I do think this year, if you've ignored price in the past, this is not the year to carry on ignoring price. Consumers are even if they're not that affected by the cost of living crisis, they're being bombarded with messaging from the media.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to do that my physical emoji because I couldn't think of the right words. But they are getting told from every angle they need to worry about their spending. So you've got to check those prices, and kind of building on Ian's point about focusing on the ROAS, you've also got to be noting how your own costs are changing and what you need these numbers to do. Guys, superb answers. Has anyone got anything they want to add in on anyone else's points across that, or shall we go on to question number 2? Jump in now or forever hold your peace? No one's jumping in? Okay, so before we get on to the next question, I just want to say a hello to Chrissy. Thanks for tuning in, Chrissy. Glad you're enjoying it. I think you possibly know everybody who's on the call anyway, but it's great to have you here. If you, like Chrissy, are tuning in live and you've got a question you want to pose, get it in the chat box on YouTube or LinkedIn now, so I stand a chance of getting it asked before we get to the end. And Nelson has already asked us a question. He was hot off the the thing, asking this well early on, and it builds rather nicely on our first question. So the first question was more around general strategy. With Nelson's question, we are diving down into precise campaigns. What should be the number one campaign you put straight on your marketing plan for Black Friday? And I want specifics here, guys. Email is not a good enough answer. Okay, we want an email campaign, a strategy. All right. Kinley, I think I should come to you first because you were getting the closest to this in your last answer. So I'm hoping you're not going to go YouTube. You're going to build on that previous answer, but you don't have to, of course.
No worries, no worries. Off the top of my head, just thinking, because I was trying to gather some thoughts here. I would say go into your flow. So from an email and SMS standpoint, go into your flows and make them highly relevant, particularly if you're celebrating something. So if you're celebrating the whole Black Friday, Cyber Monday, not all merchants, mark the event. Just make sure that the typical offers that you have, if you're running any offers, are adjusted or duplicated with your specific Black Friday offer to create urgency and scarcity. Use those two psychological triggers to drive people to drive your customer base to take action. That's what I would say. I would also say that demand is very fickle as of the time of speaking right now, and it's certainly going to remain like that over the holidays. So try and be very specific with your offers and make them very value driven. You're not going to sell that many. You may that many 4-figure products. You may as well, but try and segment your customer base. If you look back at purchase history, you might see certain segments of customers who gravitate towards a certain price band or certain kind of product, and use that historical purchase data to run very custom offers that tie in with the entire suppressed, slightly suppressed demand or demand issue that we're having now. I hope
So
that helps.
Not quite a specific campaign, but essential advice. So I'll let you get away with it. And I did kind of put you on the spot by making you go first.
No worries.
So, because the whole blanket 20% off everything, do not do that. Get the messaging right. Use the scarcity. Use all those levers you've got in your marketing toolbox, I suppose, to get that messaging spot on. Ian, you wanted to go first, so what's your tip for a key campaign?
Well, okay. So the reason why Black Friday works is purely because there's scarcity and urgency. Like, there's an offer on the table, it's going to end. Okay, so that's why it works, and I wouldn't actually overthink it too much. Okay. Like when the flow of the river is flowing, run with it, go with it. Okay. So you obviously use all your channels, use all your email, use all your social. If you're doing SMS, do SMS. Basically, you need to amplify. When you've got a sale opportunity, you need to amplify it everywhere. I would say Black Friday comes earlier every year, so don't be scared of bringing it forwards. Spread it out so you're not killing it immediately and then there's nothing else left. Like, drip feed it in so you've always got a reason to come back, because people want, well, what's new? More lines added to the sale. So keep holding things in to keep it fresh. That's from an existing customer perspective. From a new customer perspective, you might find that there's a great way. Basically, people are just much more motivated to buy. So from a recruitment perspective, you might find your ROAS goes from 6 to 10. So all of a sudden you can recruit customers profitably that you couldn't before. So basically, make hay while the sun shines. Go for it. And I think the last thing would be make sure your tech doesn't fall over, because that's awful. No one listening to this now has an excuse if your website falls over. Like, it was fine 7 years ago, not good enough now.
I'm going to resist going off on the tangent of worst website falling over stories anyone's heard, because whilst that would be a very fun way to spend the next 20 minutes, I'm not sure how valuable it would be. And yeah, it's so much kinder to you and your team to spread it out over time as well, and it gives you the opportunity of optimizing and improving prices and trying other things, and when you see the ROAS suddenly go big on something, chucking a load of budget at it. So yeah, I love that idea of spreading it out. As Ian, you just gave your answer, we have to say hi Sonia and everybody in Portugal. Thanks for tuning in. The rest of the guys on this podcast have no idea what we're saying, but thanks for tuning in, Sonia. Great to know you're there. Right, back to our question. Who wants to go next?
I can. Actually, I have a pretty specific campaign idea, which should be, I guess, like executed cautiously. I would say it might be risky, depending on the merchant. But we have this old like lost leader strategy that works in some cases in a super smart way, and that's basically like picking those like super price sensitive items across our assortment. I mean, just pick maybe 2, 3, or even 1 item from your assortment, which would create an amazing word of mouth when you really decrease that product to a like ridiculously low amount of like price point, so that people would just speculate about the crazy discounts on your store. So you would just drive additional traffic for that particular loss leading item. So maybe in some purchase actually carts, you will be making loss on a unit basis. But in some cases, what we encountered with some of our clients is that the additional purchases that those actually like convinced buyers make would add an additional premium profit margin on top of their purchases. So their actually eventual cart will be a profitable one, so that you will be making some loss from those actually loss leader items that drives additional traffic. but at the end of the day, you will be still, selling other items at premium. The secondary advantage of this strategy is actually also thinking this period as, let's say, user generation period. So instead of just making sales right throughout the holiday season, but you may capture emails, you may capture traffic that might be retargeted, I don't know, 3 months later. So actually identifying some key value items, as we call them, from your assortment, which would create the image of this crazy retailer making crazy discounts by just simply making crazy discounts only for 1, 2, 3 items, not across your whole assortment via blanket discounts, really works in some cases. But I mean, if this will be the very first year for a merchant testing this out, I mean, this might be actually a somewhat an expensive learning. But as Dan also rightfully mentioned, I mean, if you really monitor what's going on during, on an hourly basis, daily basis, if you actually monitor your profit margins across the carts, I think it can be also a very, very actually profitable activity.
I love that, and I think it also speaks to. It reminds me of something I was told by a retailer not very long ago, which is that they had worked out, and this theory is familiar to many, but this kind of builds on what you were just saying. Is that they had worked out that if a customer buys both beauty and skincare, the customer lifetime value goes up massively.
Mm-hmm.
So for that retailer, you'd be saying, well, look, let's focus on beauty for Black Friday and make sure we've got the post-purchase, sell something else, convert them to a second purchase on skincare, set up brilliantly so you get that double bang over the next X number of months and so on through. So be strategic about it, everybody. That's what we're saying. Excellent tip. Dan, Chase, which of you would like to go next?
I've got 2 to 3 things. But Dan,
Dan,
who's first?
After you.
Good. So it's actually a bit of an extension or kind of a mashing up of some concepts that Ian and Kunle talked about, really, which is obviously the Black Friday, and you've got this idea that it's largely a retargeting event, right? So you're really speaking to people who already know who you are and you're getting them excited about the offers. And then there's what really drives them is the kind of the scarcity and the fact that they might miss out. It's quite an effective way of kind of addressing that I've seen in the past is actually to let your kind of best customers, or even just your existing email database, into your Black Friday offers early. You go a day early, use an email campaign or something like that to invite them in, and you'll find that you get a bit more cut through because you're not just relying on the same old ways of communicating that everyone is. Black Friday launches, they've got their email box full of every email newsletter they've ever signed up for is now telling them there's 50% off a million different things. The Facebook feed is full of all of these different offers. If you're able to go early, then that will give you kind of a boost just slightly ahead of Black Friday. But also what you can do is make it known to people who aren't already in your database that by being in your database, you will go early with these offers. So it gives them an incentive to sign up. So it's kind of an effective way to build that out.
Nice. You're kind of bringing together Kunle's and Ian's tips there in a really, really nice way. And I think it's a big opportunity to do something really nice for your best customers and to build more of a relationship piece, which we don't often think about when we're thinking about Black Friday. So great advice there, Dan. Chase, I realized after your earlier comment about, what if someone steals your idea? I've now made you last. Sorry about that. Definitely
nobody
wasn't
stole
planned.
Nobody stole it, actually. But I did. So I had a comment and then I had 2 specifics. So I'm going to preface this the specifics with, don't blindly take our advice, please. You need to make sure that it makes sense for your business, your customers, your margins, and all that stuff. So whenever someone asks for a guarantee, nothing's guaranteed because everything is so much different about your business. And maybe even we have an example that's still in the same industry, but they're so wildly different. So blanket statements of this always works. I'm always against. I try to be honest about that. With that being said, here's 2 things to do. First, we've had a lot of success in the past with a lot of our clients by doing holiday gift guides that are specifically curated with their clients their products, and they build bundles around it specifically for the customers. And they usually look into their own data to find out someone buys this, they also buy this. So they do a holiday gift guide about it and do some cool content and copy around it and repurpose that stuff everywhere through their ads and their email. So that's something that we see working really well, especially in like the beauty fashion space. That usually performs really well. Now, the secondary one, with this one's a little bit more fun, and I thought about this as we were talking about kind of the pricing, the loss leader stuff, is I've seen a lot of success for brands doing like a mystery bag or a mystery product to clear out old inventory, which is just a fantastic like thing to do during Black Friday. So you can mark that thing down, you can get it gone, you can clear out basically what's parked cash within your inventory, and no one ever complains about it.
Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Mystery boxes and bundles are just such a great strategy. And I think one of the things which we haven't really mentioned so far in this episode has been stock. Are you going to have any? Are you not going to have any? Which is a big, and is it going to arrive on time? So I think there's definitely, you know, scraping out that corner of the warehouse to create a mystery box can be a brilliant way of leveraging some cash.
Or you could also do free gift with purchase at a certain threshold and just don't tell them what the gift is.
Yeah, there was an amazing business in the States called Blue Chip Wrestling, who go to all the big wrestling events at all the colleges, universities, etc. around the States. And for each of the big events, they create a bespoke T-shirt for that event. And they had all these T-shirts piling up in the warehouse. So they added just a free gift, free T-shirt with any purchase to the website. So people from Alaska were getting Florida T-shirts and vice versa, you know, and stuff they'd never compete at, but loving it and sharing it on social media. So yeah, that sort of thing. Even if you think it's trash stock, it probably isn't. Anyway, I could wax lyrical about mystery boxes for ages. I've missed what's coming on the comments. If you've got questions, get them in fast because we are about to run out of time to ask any more questions. Nelson has come back and has said thank you very, very much for those tips. Thoroughly enjoying it. So the asker is pleased. Well done, guys. As possibly none of you know, and possibly none of the audience know, but we have a big focus now at eCommerce MasterPlan on sustainability, and as does Chrissy, who we said hello to earlier. And Chrissy has asked a green question, so I think we should do this one to kind of curveball it a little bit, which is she says, have we got any Green Friday thoughts? Because there is this argument against Black Friday from a sustainability perspective, but there, as I think has already been mentioned, humans like buying around Black Friday. I suspect we've all heard of the brand of a brand, because there's many, who have done no Black Friday at all and still had their best ever sales day. And I'm increasingly starting to think we should use all our marketing skills to push the sustainability message, which kind of doesn't mean ducking out of Black Friday. It means doing it cleverly to promote our messages. So any thoughts from you guys on the sustainability Black Friday, Green Friday, doing something different? Any good examples you've heard? I'm not going to pick on anyone here. Just has anyone got anything they'd like to share?
My tip is don't greenwash. Don't greenwash. If you're going to be sustainable, it has to be part of your values. Just don't, because people would just source you out really, really quickly. Do what you can, but do it authentically, both internally and externally. But in that light, you could look at your catalog of products and see, what products actually fit that sustainability profile, and you may just run a special offer for that to raise the awareness of the sustainable practices used to produce those products, and encourage those if like a merchandiser, right, encourage those those suppliers or manufacturers to continue doing what they're doing. Sorry. Yeah.
Great question. Great answer. Anyone else want to jump in on that one? You don't all have to answer it because we're getting towards the end of time. So anyone else got a great green sustainability side of it?
I think I'll just mention very briefly, because I've worked with quite a few clients, and some of them, like you say, where it's been woven into the core of the business, it really works well. When it's been tagged on at the end, it doesn't tend to work well. But I think the other danger is you have to remember why people are buying your products in the first place. So if it's fashion, for example, They're buying the clothes because they're going to watch the horse racing at Chester, or they're getting married, or so remember that we have to get the core job to be done right, and the sustainability has to be part of that. But they're not going to buy just because you're sustainable. And let's face facts. That's the reality, isn't it? It has to be, in addition to getting the desirability right or convincibility right. You can't just slap it on thinking it's going to be enough.
Yeah, but I think the key thing for me, though, is that those brands who do have it baked into the values of their business, it doesn't mean they can't partake in Black Friday in some way or another, but they're probably not going to slash 80% off everything for everybody and and do something quite that unsustainable. Okay, we've had 2 other questions submitted. This one we're not going to manage to answer because it's a bit of a big question and we've only got 5 minutes left, but it's on LinkedIn. So Tian, thank you for the question. I will circulate it, the link to that question, to our guests, and hopefully some of them will manage to go and put their thoughts on it. I will put my thoughts on it before I log off today. And then we've had a second follow-up question from Nelson. So normally I go off to Tian's because Nelson's already had a question answered, but this one I can frame up to the guys and go 1-word answers, please. So we finish on time. So what medium, actually you can kind of give me 2 sentences each, we've got time for that. What medium or tools do you consider to be underrated in e-commerce? Please don't say email. I'm going to allow you to say email if you think that's the answer. Who wants to?
Why can't we say email?
Well, I'm going to allow you, but Nelson doesn't want you to.
I'm going to go with Hotjar. It's the coolest thing ever that no one uses the right way.
So give us one cool way to use Hotjar.
Oh, you can literally watch your customers get frustrated using your website and then just use your big brain to figure out what their problem is. Sometimes you have to tie back the data, figure out what's going on with their specific, browser or whatever. But you can not in real time, they're recordings, but you can watch people get frustrated. And even if you get to a certain level of Hotjar, it'll be like, oh, we highlighted these ones because these people are doing behavior that basically we know from our data, they're frustrated with your website. And then you'll start to see patterns and you'll basically make a to-do list of things to either fix because it's an obvious problem after the fact, or test because it's a little more interesting. I
personally love how that rotates back to your very first answer of CRO.
Also,
nice.
I have a bunch of answers to both these questions in the ebook. Brandscalingframework.com. I think the automations work. Maybe I need to look at my flows, but I think it's all good.
We also have, just to give you all a little bit more time to think, we also have Nelson's answer to why not say email, because it's a cliche.
Yes, yeah.
So, Ian, I'll come to you next. What's your key underrated thing in e-commerce? Very quick.
Very quick. The thing that's revolutionized loads of clients in the last 2 years has been taking the overall ROAS for the e-com business, not looking at what GA or AdWords is telling us, but take simply what we spent on a day and the value of new customers we recruited on a day, and doing a rolling 7-day average. So there's a Google sheet, and it's those 2 columns, because that gives you the true return on ad spend. And it is fascinating when you do it. Absolutely fascinating. Game changing, actually.
But yet so simple, it shouldn't work. Simple. Dan, quick opinion on that, and then your tip, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I was actually listening to your podcast episode earlier, Ian, and the thing that really resonated was this kind of message about simplicity, right? Do the basics well before you actually get too complex. People leap too deep into this kind of channel. So I think it's a really strong message there. As far as my tip, though, the most underrated thing in e-commerce right now, not even underrated, it's possibly described as hated, Google Analytics 4. I think it has masses of potential. And there is a handy podcast episode not a million miles from here that people might want to listen to get the lowdown on it. But yes, it's a massive upgrade on Universal Analytics. So take a look.
a hugely popular episode amongst our audience who've been saying how useful it has been to help them actually understand what on earth this Google Analytics support thing is. But let's come to you for your quick tip. Then we'll come to Conley, and then we will wrap it all up.
Yeah, sure. Well, I recently came across a tool called Pricing, which helps. And I'm not sure whether it's really underrated, but apparently it really helps merchants, especially throughout holiday season. But really, frankly, the reason why I really believe that it's vital, because merchants are already wasting a ton of time on pricing in some way. So they try to actually scout their competitors' prices, then manage their prices in Excel sheets, I don't know, Google Drive, depending on their platforms. So basically, really automating pricing can also be game changing, in my opinion.
Impressive pitching there.
Yeah.
Conley, your answer, please.
So I think Fairing, which used to be Enquire Labs, so post-purchase surveys, just it's a no-brainer. I work with a merchant that have a huge YouTube channel. We're talking 1 million downloads, and all sorts of agencies, all sorts of channels have claimed attribution, and then just asking the customers, where did you first hear about us? And knowing, okay, this is our top of funnel, what's it called, channel, and doubling down to see how you could do it. And then for the holidays, real quick, just get shipping insurance and get your customers to pay. Use a tool like Route.
Awesome. Well, look, guys, thank you so much for coming on and sharing so many great tips. I'm going to remove you all from the screen right now and quickly wrap up. So, guys, wherever you are watching, you will find the links somewhere near you to all the great things offered by our amazing experts. How good was their advice today? Just to quickly let you know, in September on Keep Optimizing, we are talking about marketplaces. We're kicking off with a brilliant episode that goes live tomorrow, where Jessie Rao is going to take us through kind of like the niche marketplace brand growth strategies. And then we're going deep into Amazon for brands. This is not FBA get rich quick stuff. This is what you as a brand owner, as a product creator, can do to make Amazon work for you. We've got Martin Hubel taking us through kind of the numbers and the seller and vendor accounts. And then we've got Tom Baker getting really deep into product page conversions. Awesome episode. They're both recorded. I know how good all three of these are. And then we're doing our Black Friday episodes. If you want more on that, we have an amazing episode of tips on Black Friday, including the Green Friday take on it too. That's going live on Wednesday, 28th of September. And we're going to be doing a Q&A webinar on marketplaces on the 20th of September. So lots of dates for the diary there, lots of great content coming up. And all of it's free. All of it's free. You can just tune in, listen, and get the great value. Thank you all for tuning in live. Thanks to those of you who are catching the replay. And thanks for all the comments and stuff today. I have been busy clicking on stuff, which is always a joy. And if there's any other questions, I will do my best to get back to you on them on the social channels very, very soon. So thanks, everybody, and goodbye.